something's broke out, and the guy was standing on the wrong side of the field because he didn't get very far. But it was a memorable game. We won.
Right.
But
right. No, we don't want
a lot of good stories.
Oh yeah, for sure. We don't want to cause a upheaval or a fight over at Morgan's Tavern here, but the best soccer player, or if you want to wimp out and name 4 or 5, that's okay, that you played with, or not necessarily even played with, but that you recall at Proctor during the time you were either playing or watching. Because we're from different eras, we might have different players, but I've got my own choices. But who would you put at the top of the list?
That's
I know it's a tough question because you know what? There's dozens of them that were great.
There was one summer league where 13 guys started on college teams.
I know that.
Came back
it's a
for
tough
the summer,
question.
couldn't start on their summer team.
Right.
I would say, well, I want to kind of break it down to positions.
Right. Because let's face it, the fullback probably didn't get all that notoriety, but there were some great ones back there too, and so on. So yeah.
You have to say Hal Shortsleeve was one of the best all around.
Yep.
He was a halfback.
Yeah,
that's where the game is won.
School administration up in Maine?
Up in Maine.
Is that what he's doing? Yeah.
Clayton Doty and my brother Kevin were
yes. Yep.
halfbacks.
Yep. Saw Clay just the other day over at the Glens Falls Civic Center at the New York State Basketball Championships.
And that's where really the game is won. The halfbacks win the game, as far as I'm concerned. Although I played up on the line for years, and that you can win a few games up there if you stick one in at the right time. Let's see, at fullback, I think in college, Dave Pentowski was just a fabulous fullback at Middlebury. When he was at Middlebury, he was acres of defense in front of Dave Konoski, who I think he still holds the NCAA record
I believe that
for
shutouts,
fewest goals allowed.
Playing for Tom
he
Lawson.
only had to make 5 stops a game because Pentowski was in front of him.
He could make the tough one when they made the shot.
He made the shot.
He was up to the task.
In the corner.
He's down in South Carolina now.
He's in South Carolina. I don't want to single anyone out because I'm going to. I'm going to leave some people out.
We're going to leave them out, and everybody at Proctor knows why we're leaving them out, because there are dozens and dozens of great players through those eras. They were great. I got to think of, coming to mind, you covered the back of the field. I got to think of Giuliano Ciccinelli, and I got to think of Lyman Morgan.
Lyman is absolutely one of the best. He covered more ground at halfback. Of course, his brother Dave was a head taller, got a lot more heads.
That's right.
His brother Mike should be probably one of the best center fullbacks for 100 years. I got a lot of assists from Mike, and not too many center fullbacks get assists, and he got a lot of them. And then you got it the Ojala clan. Where you want your prototypical halfback. Well, Franny, Gus, Nick. They could run, they could shoot, they could pass on a dime 60 yards away. A lot of great talent, just a lot of great talent.
Yeah, no question about it.
And then there's guys that played and they've been long gone. Terry Bartlett, for instance, was a fabulous fullback.
He went out to Illinois to play a little soccer. No, I know, but when he left,
He's been gone 20 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to forget some
people. We can't name. I mean, it's like every team had 11 good players on the field at a time. I mean, it was just.
Well, we all wanted to play, and we played hard, and we were deep. But of course, in the summer league, you really want to have about 13 or 14 guys on a team.
Right.
When it's in a situation like that, so everyone gets to play.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want anyone.
If you're playing 90 minutes, you want to play 70.
Right.
That's all you really, and that's what you see in the World Cup. You see guys playing most of the game.
Yeah. Now also I think people have to remember that when Proctor was having their great streak, they had soccer down, and a lot of teams were picking it up, because remember in the 60s, a lot of schools, the bigger schools, were only playing football. And I can remember playing against Springfield. It was their first season. And Coach Tom Lawson got all the Proctor players in the huddle, and he said, "You first team guys had better get all you can get, because after halftime, it's only the JVs on the field. And the first team got a halftime lead of 8-0, and the JVs beat them 4-0, and it was 12-0 game. So a lot of teams were just, just learning what soccer was.
Well, when I was
I
at
think
the
65
Herald,
was the first year of soccer. 64 or 65 was the first year of soccer for Springfield High School.
yes, and I think it was around the same time that Berger Vignes started at Mount Anthony.
Right.
And of course,
Yeah.
you get someone that knows the game and you want to kind of put a program together,
Right.
like what John Werner's got in Arlington.
Exactly.
And start them young.
Yep.
But in 10 years, you can have the best program around.
Certainly.
And I always thought that UVM's soccer program didn't employ enough Vermonters.
Although there were a lot from Proctor, right?
Back in the late 60s, it was almost exclusively Vermonters.
Right,
And
right.
they were right up there, as far as
Right.
I'm concerned.
Right.
I also think in this part of this area, we played a little bit different style
Mhm.
than you see. I think we like to go for the long ball. And,
Right,
and I know we scared a lot of northern teams, northern Vermont teams, when we play them in the fall leagues or the summer leagues, because their style was everybody looked perfect and lots of quick passes.
Short passing.
And we'd have a fullback kind of sloughing off or making it look as though he was sloughing off, and the next thing you know, he's passed the ball 40 yards, and I'm jumping on it, or
Right.
somebody else is jumping on it up front, and next thing you know, it's in the net. So that's a different style of play. There's a lot of different styles of play,
Right.
and we were more physical. I think the U.S., frankly, should maybe, as the U.S. team, they should play like the Swedes did in the World Cup last year, which is to leave the ball up in the air. The U.S. would get more good chances in the last 2 or 3 minutes of every game than they would in the first 87 minutes, because at the end of the game, the only thing they wanted to do is get the ball up in front of the goal. And so they'd start blasting it from midfield up in front of the goal. You get a tall guy up in front of the goal that can get his head on the ball, kick it to one side or the other, and someone coming through. And I'm serious. The U.S. got more shots in the last 3 minutes than they did the first 87 minutes. Why don't they play the whole game that way?
Right.
And the other side of that is the fullbacks, you're going to tire them out if you keep them running like that.
Right.
My whole career on the line was the object of that defender was to cover me. Well, I played fullback in college.
Yeah.
And so
Brown University.
So I knew what a fullback was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And a fullback didn't like the feeling that maybe the lineman was covering him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all I did for years was I covered the center fullback. I stayed on him. He's supposed to stay on me, but if I stay on him, anything that comes behind me is my ball.
Right.
He's got to come through me to get it.
Yeah.
And I also found that the bigger the fullback, the closer you want to get to him. Those guys are used to having all sorts of room.
Right.
You want to be stepping on their toes the whole game long.
Yeah.
And they didn't like it.
Right.
And I was big enough to step on their toes and it hurt, and quick enough to beat them if the ball was within a few yards.
Right.
And or just create space for a smaller lineman to come through and pick it up. I guess that's what who's the hockey player from St. Albans is able to do at Philadelphia.
John LeClaire.
John LeClaire.
Yeah.
They say now he's getting all sorts of assists because he doesn't have to be the center. He's the wing, and he's making all sorts of room for Lindros.
Yeah.
Well, get the ball or the puck or whatever in front of the net, start making room. You're going to get a lot of shots off.
Yeah.
So that's an old trade secret.
Yeah, we're going to get you back here on the show again in August, I think, for a coaching clinic. I think a lot of guys would like to hear what you say about that.
I think there's a lot of people in this county, lots of people. Kixie, I saw Danny Adams. They've played so much soccer, or they've been reffing for so long.
Yep.
Randy Dewey from Proctor's been reffing.
Right, Rutland Town.
I don't know where Kerry Sismazy is these days. Where does he live anyway?
Arlington.
He lives in Arlington?
Yep.
Okay, well, there's guys that have reffed or
And
played
officiates
for
field hockey.
25, 30 years.
Yeah.
If kids want to play, if they're interested, if they're excited, if they want to get a league going, there's a lot of people that can step forward that can help them.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, little oddity here. Your older brother, Jim, played on a Triple Crown season, Proctor Phantoms. You also, correct, played in the Triple Crown season, meaning that you won the state title that school year in soccer, basketball, and baseball. Unbelievable feat. And in Jim's case, the team lost one game in all three sports combined. I think that was like by 2 points. And so certainly two of the greatest seasons there in the annals of Proctor athletics. That had to be a thrill that school year. I mean, the Triple Crown doesn't, just the same guys, and it is pretty much the same guys in a school like that. In all
Right,
three
and then
sports.
it was I have to say it wasn't that huge a deal. I mean, I guess it was in retrospect,
Right,
but
right.
I think it was rather simple if our older brothers could do it,
Yeah.
and we knew which side of the bed they got up on, we could do it.
It was yeah.
And I think from, I don't know, it's the mid-'60s to the early '70s, it was just a confluence of events. It was the perfect sized town. There was a lot of kids. I mean, there's more kids back then, 50% more kids than there are at Proctor High School right now,
Right.
for one reason or another. When your brother wins 3 titles, you expect you're supposed to be there too. When we were there, and we don't talk about this much. My wife gets on me if I do. But someone was saying that any title game we were in, we won.
Right.
So if we got there,
Yeah.
we won. We expected to win.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was preparation. It's teamwork, and it's preparation, and it's togetherness.
Right.
It's the same fundamentals that John Wooden says in basketball, and it applies to all sports.
Right. Right.
But we fully expected that we not necessarily we were going to win the game, but drop the ball. Let's start the game, and let's see who's going to win the game. And
Yeah.
that's the way our attitude was. Yep. And half the teams, that's all you needed. They gave up after the first quarter. But we had a lot of good, smart players, and we had a lot of good coaching, and we had a good town. And now, of course, you've got the girls are involved, and so
exactly.
that
Now you had some sisters who would have been great athletes, and they didn't have the opportunity because there was not girls athletics at Proctor at the time. I understand Nancy would have probably been,
she was probably the best athlete in the family.
Yeah.
All told, she's still. We don't like to play on the golf course with her because she embarrasses the rest of us.
Of course, her daughter had a great athletic career at Hopkinton High School in New Hampshire.
Right.
Outstanding softball player, and followed in your footsteps in academia by going to Brown.
Right.
And I see we're getting the sign here. It was a pretty quick 30 minutes. We could use another 30, but unfortunately we're out of time. But I want to thank you for coming by, and hopefully we gave you a tape to bring to your next high school reunion, which is coming up when?
It's coming up in June.
Okay, this year.
This year.
And mine's this year too.
But we don't want to say how many years.
Mine's the 30th.
No, it's a big one.
You're probably
it's
half
a big
of that.
one. No.
Oh, the 20.
5/6 of it.
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Oh,
So it's a big
wow.
one. We're looking forward to it.
Okay,
I've got
great.
to go over and talk to a couple of the girls in the class this week.
All right.
So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for coming by, and we will see you with a different guest in a couple of weeks on another edition of Haley's Comet. Thank you.